Hello everyone and welcome back to this Portal series where we are recreating the portal mechanic found in the popular series Portal. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a little bit further, and as you can see, based off of the code that we had last time, we can spawn as many portals as we want all at the same time, and that is not what we want at all. We want to have a situation where we can only have at maximum 2 portals in the world, right? So we're going to go ahead and fix that today. And then what we're also going to do is have the player interact with the portal, because right now we have the collision set up for the portal, but there's nothing going on there. So we're going to get those 2 things done today, and hopefully that doesn't take us 3 hours. I'm joking. This is not going to be that long. But let's get started. I've actually made a few changes since last time, and the first change being that I believe we when we wanted to rotate our collision, or our portal here, we came into the transform over here and did that. But what we actually want to do is we want to make sure that we rotate the entire thing. So if this is rotated, so if this is at 90 degrees, right, we want to reset this rotation to 0. So the rotation of the static mesh to 0, and then collision set the transform over here, relative rotation, to 90 degrees. That way, when we go ahead and try to do stuff with the forward vector of the portal later on, we're talking about the same thing, because we might be talking about, or if we're talking about the forward vector and we still have the old rotation, we are going to be expecting it to be coming from this face right here, when in fact it's actually coming from this face. So that's going to present some problems for us, and hopefully that's going to be a nice little fix for us. And then the second thing that I made changes to is inside of the spawning code, if I can find, yeah, over here. Okay, I got rid of the spawn parameters because we don't actually need spawn parameters with the way that we have everything set up. So the spawn parameters were actually hurting us in terms of introducing visual noise that we don't need, and introducing potential bugs later on down the line. All right, so with that all set up, let's get started. I'm actually going to change this line one more time, and I'm going to change this line from rotation to orientation rotator. Apparently, the rotation function from the hit result is going to be deprecated soon. At least that's what I can gather there. The only reason that rotation is still there is for legacy reasons. So we're going to change that to orientation rotator to try and make sure that our code stays as updated as possible. So, all right. First order of business is creating a situation where we can only have 2 portals at once. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to use a T array. You can use a regular C-style array. I'm going to go ahead and do this in the game mode right now. You can use a regular C-style array, and that'll work perfectly fine. The reason I'm going to go with the T array, though, is so that I don't have to write my own find function. And we're going to be looking for things inside of the array, and we're going to need to be looking for specific things. And just using T arrays is going to allow us to go ahead and make sure that it's really quick and really easy, right? So we're going to use a T array. But the issue that we might come up with, right, is, well, we only want 2, and the T array is going to dynamically resize, right? So there are 2 things that we can do about this. We can do a T static array, and a T static array 2 is going to be a shortcut for initializing a T static array with 2 elements, right? And we could do this class blah blah blah, But this isn't going to come with the functions that we want for some odd reason. I don't know why. It doesn't come with like the find function and stuff like that. So that's an issue that we could run into as well. So we're going to use a regular T array. And we're going to be very, very explicit with the way that we access the elements of our array. So that means that we are going to always have no more than 2 items inside of our array. And we're going to get a class we're going to call a portal. And I'm going to add in a different allocator. So what we've been using in the past is the default allocator for the T array. That means that everything is going to be stored on the heap and will be called and accessed when we need it. Benefits of storing it on the heap is that it makes it easier to dynamically allocate, right? Because if we have a limited amount of space on the stack, what's going to happen is if we keep trying to allocate more and more using a T array, then we can get some fragmentation issues, we can get some performance issues, and just different stuff that we don't like, right? And storing it on the heap is good because it doesn't really matter. But the problem with the heap, in our case, is it's going to be a lot slower than the stack. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to get a default, we're going to reset our allocator so that we're going to store it on the stack. And this is going to be beneficial for us because it's going to be faster, and it's going to be safe for us because we're only allocating enough for 2 portal pointers. We're actually going to be storing pointers to portals in here. So change that to a pointer, and since we know the maximum that we're going to be doing, what we're actually going to be doing is pre-allocating some memory on the stack at compile time, right? Now we can do some other stuff. So T inline allocator, we're going to store enough for 2, and T inline allocator, that does not mean that that we run out of memory, right? When we run out of memory from the 2 elements that we have here, so if we accidentally add in a 3rd element, what's going to happen is instead of crashing or something like that, it's going to store the rest of it on the heap. So you can still use this if you feel like you've got, I don't know, a maximum of 5 things that you're going to be storing inside of your array. You can go ahead and say T inline allocator 5, and if you accidentally go 6 or 7, then it's going to just be stored on the heap. And I actually haven't messed with the performance of how that actually works, but I know that it works. And I'm going to call this portals, and we're going to actually initialize these to null pointers, and that's going to be important when we go ahead and find stuff later. So we've got our T array class portal T inline allocator. We're only allocating enough room for 2, and we called it portals. All right, now that's all squared away. So what we're going to do now is come back into the projectile, and we're going to get rid of this log function, or this log message, because we already know what's going on right here, right? We already know that our spawning is successful, and so we know that we're spawning them. And I'm actually going to go ahead and comment out this get world function, and you'll see in just a second. We're actually going to do a little bit more logic so that we can explicitly place our portals into our array. This will help us keep a mental model of how our array is going to work, and that mental model will actually help us later on to go ahead and actually let us know what's going on and which element is which, right? So I'm going to come up and I'm going to include a few things. So I'm going to include the game mode, and it's called tutorial game mode. So tutorial game mode.h. And I think that's really it for now as far as includes are concerned. We already have engine world and we have portal, so those are good. Those are all squared away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say uWorld pointer const world, and that's going to be equal to get world. We've seen that line of code before. And then we're going to say a tutorial game mode, store a pointer to that, call that GM, and that's going to be equal to, oh, I did miss one, gameplay statics. So we're going to include gameplay statics. Oh, that's in Kismet. Gameplay statics. Let's go ahead and GM equals u gameplay statics. And we're going to get game mode. And it's going to be associated with the world. And this isn't going to work because a game mode base cannot be used to initialize an entity of type a tutorial game mode. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to cast this game mode to an a tutorial game mode. And put everything over here in parentheses. And now that's going to work. We've got our game mode all set up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves another variable, and it's going to be called index of n. You can name this whatever you want. But what this is going to be is this is going to be the index of the null pointer in our, where is it? In our array over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the position of the first null pointer in our array. So if this is the first one, then it's going to get 0. And if this actually has something in it, it's going to skip over this one, and then it's going to return 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in and say index of n is equal to gm portals dot find. And this find function, like I said, is going to find us our first null pointer. And that's going to be interesting because when we get our null pointer, we're going, if our pointer is null at that location, right, then that's the location that we're going to want to spawn our portal at. And I'll show you here. So if index of n is equal to index none, so index none is going to be what is returned when we don't find a null pointer. And that's interesting because the way that I have it set up, most of the time, right, we're gonna have at least one portal in the world. So this is going to be an interesting way. Like you could also say if index of n is not equal to index none and have some different logic here. But I think that the most common case is going to be that we aren't going to find any index nones. So that's what we're going to go with for here right now. So if index of n is equal to index none, then what we'll do is we're going to destroy the first, oh, there we go, gm portals index 0 destroy. I'm actually going to type all this out and then I'll explain what it means in just a moment. Gm portals 0 equals gm portals 1 and get world spawn. Else gm portals index of n all right. So here what we've got is we're looking for our null pointer, right? And if we don't find a null pointer, which I believe is going to be the most common case, what we're going to do is we're going to destroy and get rid of the portal in the 0 index. So that's going to be the first one that we find. So the first time we go through, right? So we spawn the first one, and it's going to be at index 0 because it's going to find its first null pointer at 0. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and we fire it again, and our first null pointer is going to be at index 1. So 0 will be the older of the portals, and 1 will be the newer of the portals. Okay? So then what we're going to do is, if we already have both of them filled up, right, we're going to then get rid of the older portal, move the older portal into the newer portal, or move the newer index into the older index, and then spawn a new one. So that way, the one that was new is now old. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's basically how we're going to go about doing this, right? And this is going to provide us a nice explicit way of managing which portal is in what position. So we have, okay, so we've got, yep, that all looks good. So let's go ahead and try and compile that, right? Hopefully that works. But what we should expect to see is we spawn portal 1, we spawn portal 2. And then when we go to spawn portal 3, portal 1 gets deleted. And that is just going to be a nice way of making sure that we always have 2 portals and only have 2 portals. So play. So I spawned 1, I spawned 2, and I'm going to spawn 3, and you should expect to see that this portal right here gets deleted. Yep. So that one gets deleted and that one stays. And if I actually go ahead and fire over here, then the portal right here will be deleted. Okay, so now we've actually got a nice way of managing our array and making sure that we know exactly which one is going to be deleted. Because if we do it at random or in some other fashion, then we might get the wrong portal deleted, or we might not delete a portal at all. So we've got that set up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up some collision with the player. Because as of right now, if I go ahead and walk into a portal, nothing's going to happen. And we're not going to do anything too crazy today. All we're going to do is we're going to print out a debug message that shows us which portal we've actually connected with. Because teleporting the character has its own little tricks, and that could add another, 30 minutes to the video. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to the portal. And as you can see, yep, we've already set up our collision here. So that's good. What I'm going to do is we're going to write another function, and this function is going to be an overlap event. So that means it's going to have to be a U function, if I can type, and it's going to return void. I'm going to call it player collision, and it's going to take in 2 actors, right? Overlapped actor and actor, other actor. Something that I didn't go over in the overlap event tutorial, which I didn't actually know about until, like half an hour ago when I tried recording this earlier, is that if you have these parameters switched, so if you have other actor first and then overlapped actor, it's not going to work. And it will not give you an error message. So I should probably go ahead and I'm actually going to add a tag to the other video and talk about that. But yes, it will not give you an error message, and it just won't work. Which is the worst kind of not working, is when it doesn't give you an error message. So just a heads up, you make sure that you have your overlapped actor and then the other actor. So let's go ahead down here and add our A portal so it knows that it's a part of this class. All right, now that's all set up. So what we can do is, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the index of whatever this portal is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the game mode, so tutorial game mode, right? And I'm gonna steal some code from here, and it's gonna be this code. So these 3 lines where we get the world, get the game mode, set that, and get the index of something. And I'm gonna set that all right here, but we're not gonna be looking for null pointers. Actually, I should probably include gameplay statics as well. Kismet, gameplay statics, and include engine.world or engine, engine/world. All right, now that's all set up. So what we're actually going to be looking for is we're actually going to be looking for this exact portal. So if we collide with portal 1, then we want to get portal 1, right? So I'm going to say index of this, and we're going to be looking for this. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say if other actor is equal to the character, which we don't have in our class yet, but we'll go ahead and get that. And our index of this is not equal to index none. I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses around these just to make sure that we know that these are 2 separate statements that we are combining with the AND operator. Ignore the error message. We'll go ahead and fix that in just a second. All we're going to do is we're going to print out a debug message to the screen. So we're going to use our UE log, we're log temp, just like always, warning, our handy dandy text macro, and we're going to say player collided with portal in blank index. And we're going to get index of this. Go ahead and stick that into that %d. So what we're going to do is we're just going to basically print out which portal we collided with. So if we are at the older portal, then we're going to say that we're at 0. If we're at the newer one, we're going to say we're at 1. So let's actually go ahead and get this character all set up so that we can get rid of that error message. And we're going to include our tutorial character. And we're going to do something very similar to what we did here with our game mode. So a tutorial character pointer, I'm going to call him char because I already did that down there. And it's going to need to be cast to the a tutorial character, so why not do that already? And we're going to get another uGameplay statics function, and it's going to be get player character. Oh, I forgot to type. Get player character, and it's going to be at world and player index of 0. So hopefully that should work. So index of this character child, blah blah blah. Yep, looks like everything is okay down there. And we'll go ahead and compile. And then hopefully what we should see is we should expect to see the index of the portal in the array that we just hit. So it's compiling, it's done. I'm going to hit play, boom, boom, and now hopefully I'm going to run into this and I actually get nothing. Why is that? Oh, because I actually didn't set up this function to fire off at all. So this function's not even going off. So on actor begin overlap dot add dynamic, and it's gonna auto correct me to that, which I hate. This, and then we're gonna go. I'm gonna copy that. All right, so now that should be good. Yep. And now our event is actually going to fire off because we didn't actually set up that event to fire off in the first place, which is a silly mistake, but not the end of the world. Another common mistake would be to leave this player collision function as not a U function, and then in that case you will get red error messages in our output log. So let's go ahead, and what I should do is I should walk up to this and it should say 1. Yep, and then I'll come up to this one and it'll say I'm at 0. Boom. Well, there we have it. We're gonna actually, test this out again, and then this should be 1, right? And then this should be 0. Yep. So we're all set. Now we have our array working properly, exactly the way we want it. We can only spawn 2 portals at once, and we are actually properly colliding with our portals. And that's going to be it for today. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and let them be known in the comment section down below. If you like what I'm doing with this series, then go ahead and hit that like button. If you don't like it, then hit that dislike button, and please tell me why. I can't get better if you don't tell me how to get better. And that's going to be it. So I will see you in the next one.